Hi everyone, I'm John Mitchell, and in this video we're going to continue on with our 6 types of businesses, and more specifically today we're going to look at the social enterprise and government business enterprises. So we'll start off with a social enterprise, which is a business that exists primarily to fulfill a vision that benefits the community or a social need rather than simply shareholders. Now, they're usually commercially viable businesses in terms that they make a profit through the sale of goods and services. So there's no difference there in terms of what with the other businesses that we've looked at. They're still trying to make a profit through the sale of goods and services, but what they do with that profit may vary. So rather than it going to the shareholders, it may be that it goes towards their social cause or the community that they're trying to positively impact. Now, some social enterprises will rely more heavily on grants and funding, whether that be funding from the public or whether that be funding from the government, while others are far more self-sustaining, where they can pretty much cover all their operating expenses and make a profit just through the sale of their goods and services. So that can vary depending on the social enterprise. And the key is that the profit is used towards their social cause. And I've got the example there of Street. So if we have a quick look at Street, it aims to provide homeless and disadvantaged youths with life skills, training and work experience. Now, it does that by running a bunch of cafes, catering and coffee roasting businesses. So by the production and the sale of all those products, it aims to bring in as much revenue as possible, and it uses that revenue to help educate and provide employment for those that are disadvantaged. So it employs the disadvantaged and gives them the training, skills and confidence that they need so that they can get their life back on track. And so that, while they're aiming to make a profit, it's what they do with that profit and how they run their business. Their primary aim of the business is to help those homeless and disadvantaged youths. And that's what a social enterprise is. So while it might not be as relevant to look at the advantages and disadvantages in this video with the 2 types of businesses that we're looking at, we'll do it just in case you ever had to discuss or evaluate or recommend and justify a particular business structure. So with the advantages of a social enterprise, it can be a real benefit of meeting a social need. It can encourage community support and therefore increase profits or bring more revenue into the business. So for example, we look at Street, there might be different cafes within the local area, but some customers or consumers might like to go to Street because they know that the money they're spending there is actually helping the community in some way. Also, it can increase morale within the business as the employees value the work that they're doing. They know they're really benefiting the community in which they're working or the social cause that they're working for, and that can help develop a really strong culture. But some disadvantages when starting a social enterprise, it's not always easy to turn a profit, so it can be difficult to obtain finance to actually begin the business. And also, having the focus of, yes, being financial and trying to make a profit and being financially sustainable and meeting the social objectives, that can be very difficult to focus on both of those particular objectives and actually achieve both. Now, the last business type that we need to look at is a government business enterprise, or what you might see abbreviated as GBE. So a government business enterprise is a business that's owned and operated by the government. It, again, like all other businesses that we've looked at, it still looks to operate commercially and aims to make a profit and also carry out government policies, but it aims to make a profit through the sale of goods and services. So if we look at Australia Post there, that's the example where by the service it provides, it is aiming to make a profit. So they try to increase value, they try to increase their returns on the shareholders. It's just that the shareholder is the government. So it is a business that is commercial, but it is owned and operated by the government. Now, it's normally controlled by a board of directors, so the government will have a shareholder minister, and therefore there'll be a board of directors that will make decisions on the direction of the business and report to the shareholder minister, who's a minister in charge of that particular government business enterprise. And therefore they have that link in with the government. So some examples of government business enterprise, some of the larger ones: Australia Post, NBN Co, which currently as we stand is a government business enterprise, and also Defence Housing Australia. So again, we'll look at the advantages and disadvantages. They're not as relevant as they were in the first 2 videos, but it may be that the government business enterprise is able to invest in an area that the private sector, so private businesses like public listed companies and private limited companies, really hesitated to invest in because they don't see a real benefit or that they can make a serious profit. So maybe the government business enterprise will invest in that area, and therefore it really benefits the community. It can also provide healthy competition to private sector businesses, which can help. Competition is really good for consumers and for the community because it can help bring down prices and increase quality and those types of things. And some disadvantages The strategic direction can change if the government changes, and the government can change, regularly, depending on who the public vote in. So therefore, the strategic direction can often change relatively regularly. And therefore, there can also be political interference because there is a shareholder minister. They've got to, one, benefit the community, but also consider the political objectives that they're trying to achieve. And also, because it's government sort of owned, there's a possibility that they're not as productive as private sector businesses. They're not necessarily looking to cut as many costs in private sector businesses, and there can be a lack of accountability. Not all the time, but in some government business enterprises, that can be the case. So just to recap, a summary of what we've gone through in the last 3 videos. A business is an organisation where goods and services are exchanged for money, and they're all trying to make a profit. What they do with that profit, as you've seen in this video, can vary, especially with a social enterprise, but that's what they're trying to do. So the 6 that we need to know are the sole trader, partnership, the 2 companies with the private limited company and the public listed company, and in this video we looked at the social enterprise and government business enterprise. So that is the first dot point covered in our study design. So for questions, activities, and to find out more about our Unit 3 Flying Start lectures, then come on over to teachingbubble.com.